Okay guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another study stream. We will be kicking off very shortly. Just got a notification from Instagram that countdown had finished. I don't know what I can do with that. 1 second. Let's see if I can improve that. We'll just wait a minute or two and then we'll dive straight into the hands. I've got 4 hands to go through with Pio and simple preflop sims. So yeah, should be good. Yep, honestly, don't know why I got that notification. Don't know what it does. I hope you guys are doing well. Ready for some study. And I'm just going to sort this out 1 second. Right, let's kick things off. So yeah, as I said, I've got 4 hands to go through. If you have any questions at all, then fire them into the chat. There'll be a bit of interaction and me sort of doing some study. Really, I want to go through and make sure that I am, learning some stuff. We went through on Tuesday. We went through 4 hands, and one I think there was a clear mistake. I check folded ace king on a queen 8x board, and it was a clear mistake. And then there were 3 others that weren't really mistakes at all. So they, that was it was good just to check and sweep the floor, as I've talked about before. Hey Jack Rag on Twitch. So let's start. Okay, so we open up king queen off here, and big blind calls. Flop comes Jack 9 deuce. Nathan on YouTube saying thank you for the poker tips. You're welcome. Thanks for being here, checking out the stream. So yeah, streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. Obviously, it's just up to you guys which platform you want to watch on. I guess you're already watching on one. So yeah, Jack 9 do rainbow board. I think we're going to be c-betting this at a very high frequency. I'm not sure what the split would be in terms of big and small size, but I think that we're probably going to be betting here, close to 100% of the time for a mix of small and big bets. I went for a small bet this time. He calls. The turn is the Jack of Diamonds. He checks. Not a card I expect him to lead on too often, but we'll check that in the solver just in case for some reason it starts leading top pairs. I think on a 9 or a deuce, we're going to see some more leads. More on a 9, obviously, because he should have more 9x than 2x. I'm not sure that he defends as many 2x pre-flop, but we shall see. So the turns of Jack of Diamonds, it goes check, check. So I was a bit unsure about what I should be doing on this turn card. I think because we bet small on the flop, we could target some ace highs to start folding now. We can deny equity to some draws, I guess. Yeah, still maybe even get some value from draws as well. 10-8 and Queen 10, be good to see what they do versus a big bet. Also be good for us to see, I gave it 3 bet sizes, the solver, so it'd be good to see are we going small, big, or over bet here, because the geometric sizing is going to be just over pot. And so the easiest way to work that out is if the SPR is 4, then the geometric sizing would be a pot bet. And geometric sizing just means betting an equal amount on the turn as you want to be able to bet on the river, and it's based on the size of the pot, not on we don't bet like pot, so like 8 bigs here so that we can bet 8 bigs on the river. We bet pot here so that we can bet pot on the river, which would end up being around 24 25 bigs. But anyway, yeah, I think it would be an overbet geometrically because the SPR is over 4. So yeah, I went for a check. I'm not 100% sure on that. He checks this 7, and so now I want to kind of see, do we need to bluff? Like, we can get some ace highs to fold, but what are we really repping? Like, what value hands would the solver take for this line? Like, bet, check, bet. Like, is it suddenly betting a 9 or like ace 7? That seems thin, but we can have a look at it. So yeah, let's do that right now. Let's go straight in. Okay, cool. So yeah, very high frequency c-bet on this board, Jack 9 deuce, and equity wise 62% for us, 38% for out of position. Question on YouTube: how about a min bet on the flop to get info? You have position. Yeah, I went for the small bet, so I gave it 25% and geometric sizing, which looks to be like 80-ish%, I guess, something like that. And it looks like it's favoring the small sizing. I don't think a min bet at this stack depth is going to be too good. Not 42 big blinds deep. I think small bet really. So you can scale your small bets, right? So you can go for like a 20% pot or a min bet at say 20 bigs, but you wouldn't want to be going that small at 100 bigs. Here we are at 40 bigs. I think 25% is a reasonable sort of compromise for small bet. So yeah, I did go for the small bet. Just to really quickly, just in case you missed that, I went small bet on the flop. He called check on the turn. So yeah, we want to look at like turn strategy, and then also can we bluff river. So went for the small bet. So expect a decent number of Jack X to raise on the flop, as you can see here, which is perhaps helps us see that he's going to lead more on a 9 than on a jack, but there is a decent number of suited jacks here that just go for a call. The weakest Jack X here, Jack 7 off, goes for a call as well. So I'm just going to choose a random card and then show you this. So equities for out of position, you can see, yeah, Jack is not amazing for the out of position player. 2's reasonable and a 9 is reasonable as well. 7 and 8 complete some straight draws as well, so yeah, it'd be good to have a quick look to see what's going on there. So yeah, 9 is leading. Yeah, I actually think I said that a 9 would lead more than a deuce because he has more 9x, but actually looks like the deuce is getting led slightly more, but it seems to be pretty close to me. So yeah, and then some other hands getting led at some frequency too. So yeah, interesting to see these blanks getting led by the out of position player. Yeah, pretty interesting, I would say. Let's just go back to the flop. So we can see that ace-x hands need to be suited with a backdoor flush draw to continue. You can see diamonds just going ahead and folding. A lot of these offsuit ace-x folding. So you can already think about, okay, this is what the flop strategy looks like for out of position. So we could say that probably an ace is going to be, reasonably good for the in position player. And then you can say, look, this is the out of position equity. Ace looks to be pretty bad to me. So I would say that on an ace, we'll have a look. Really good equity in position, and yeah, a decent amount of betting as well for the in position player. So that's that's good to see. I think it was the Jack of Diamonds. So let's put that in now. Do we see much leading? There's a little bit of leading on this card, but certainly not as much as there was on, say, a 9. You can see 40% leads here, as opposed to like 9%. So he checks, and then king queen off. Looks like it's mixing between overbet and check. So if we do go for the overbet, I think we want to see what kind of hands we're targeting to fold that are better than our hands. I mean, we're denying equity to some hands. I mean, we're doing pretty well against king 10, but queen 10, I guess, too. We're actually getting value from these hands, but we get a lot of ace highs to fold. So always, there's no backdoor flush draw now, so Jack of Diamonds doesn't put a flush draw out there. So we get to, to bet and get some of those hands to fold. And then if we do have king queen, we obviously block some king jack and queen jack that he can have, which is good. And yeah, interesting to see that out of position still going for a check call with these Jack X hands. Obviously, like versus an overbet, you're not going to see that many bluffs. Sorry, you're not going to see that much raising against a big bet. But I imagine if we go smaller, you start to see some more raising versus the big bet, 3%. But then versus this overbet, very much, really just going for a call or a fold with a little bit of raising. So Nathan on YouTube says, in other words, bluff. Yeah. So I think we missed a spot here. I mean, there is some checking, but I think bluffing looks good. If we ever think that population is going to start folding a 9 here way more than the solver, then I think bluffing makes even more sense. You block king 9 and queen 9 as well, which is easy calls for them. So yeah, I think it's yeah, if you ever think you can get some of these hands to fold, I think it's a pretty good idea. And then denying equity to like even a hand like 8-7 that has 2 outs and an 8 and a 7 is an out, and then I guess the 10 would be a good card for us, but if they had 8-7. Cool. And then we're actually getting all the 2x to fold as well. And yeah, looks so. I think it's just really, really useful to see like what exactly we're trying to get to fold. So we missed that one, and I think that's probably a miss for us there. Let's have a look. So nothing type hands, very much favoring. So like these are betting even more often than king queen. Same with 10-8 and 10-7, queen 8, queen 7. Like these feel very much unnatural, I would say. You know, overbetting the turn here with queen 7 of spades. But yeah, I quite like it. Cool. Okay, so we went check check. The river was the 7 of clubs. It's supposed to do a lot of blocking and then some. I guess this is quarter pot and then 3/4 pot. So it looks to be a lot of decent amount of blocking, but he went for a check. And then looks like we have a 100% bluff with our hand on the river. So yeah, I missed this one as well. So if we do end up getting to this spot, then we do want to go for the bluff. So the sizes we've got here: half pot, 90%, 2x pot, and jam. And you can see it favoring like 90% and 50%. So if we went for 50%, again, we're trying to get these ace highs to fold. I think it's a pretty big call from ace 10 in this spot. But we're just getting a lot of ace highs to fold and some 2x to fold as well. Obviously a jack's going to just raise river. But again, just try and work out what exactly it is you're trying to target in these spots, because that's the logic, isn't it? Right? We say, right, we're going to try and get like 2x to fold, or we're going to get ace highs to fold. So you only need to go ahead and bet half pot. The question in the YouTube was how big does the bluff need to be? Half pot would be absolutely fine in this spot. But I asked this question earlier on, what sort of value hands do we bet for half pot? And you can see that in fact, let's do this. There's a little bit of 9x. There's pocket 9s in here, some 9x for sure in here, and a bit of betting with ace 7 and king 7 too. So I would say that we do have some hands that we can value bet in this for this sizing. And then the slightly bigger sizing, we actually go 90% pot with a 9 here, which I think is great to see, because I think it's all too easy to just give up with a 9. So yeah, that's it's really good to see. And cool. I think that's it. So turn, I think we go for a bluff. Like we get some ace highs to fold. We get value from some queen 10s, maybe 10-8 we can get to fold, which has a reasonable amount of equity. We just get to sort of buy that equity, 24%. So it seems like a good spot. And then river, we just have to go for the bluff to get ace highs and stuff to fold. Was it the 7 of spades? 7 of clubs. Let's just change that. Do we always get called by a 7? He shouldn't really have many 7s. I guess he leads some 7s, or he just doesn't have 7s in the first place. Yeah, there's some 8-7 that it looks like he should be leading quite often. So I guess we're still going to get called by that if he does have it. Yeah. Okay. So that's not really our target. So the reason why I was asking about 8-7 is because that's exactly the hand that he had. So yeah, I think that like when this happens, you can often say like, man, we could have, maybe could have got him to fold that on the river. The solver's choosing to block this hand, but we could, like the solver's not trying to get this hand to fold, right? It's trying to get like ace 10 or ace 6 with a backdoor flush draw, or a 2 to fold, right? It's not trying to get a 7 to fold. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But yeah, I think turn and river would be good. And my key point here is just like, don't worry about the result. Like, don't look at it in terms of like, man, we could have got that hand to fold, because the solver's not even folding this hand. So maybe he does because he folds more than the solver, but yeah, we don't want to worry about it too much. Okay, ace deuce of clubs here. We raise from the hijack. Big blind calls. Flop, it's king 7-6. I think we've got a good hand to bet. Again, like, it would be good to see sizing. I guess something I should tell you about this hand is that it was close to the bubble in this tournament. Let's just find out what tournament it was. I think it was the bigger 55. Yeah, you can see here. So it was the bigger 55, but it's the one that starts earlier on in the day. So it starts at, I don't know, is it 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock? Something like that, 5 past 12 or 5. Yeah, it must be 5 past 12 because the bigger 27 starts at 1. So yeah, it's that one anyway. So it'd be good to see here what sizing we go. I haven't run this in like for ICM. I mean, there's too many players left in order to do that. Pio can do ICM for up to 18 players left, but there's probably like 65 players left in 55 paid, something like that. So yeah, approaching the bubble anyway. So yeah, it'd be good to see sizing. Again, I've given it the option to go small or big. We go small. The turn is the 7 of spades, and I think this is a reasonable card to bet. I've just got like massive deja vu as if we've already done this hand, but yeah, I'm not sure if maybe got some new viewers that haven't seen this hand before, or maybe it's because I went through it somewhere else. But yeah, I think if you guys have already seen it, just let me know. But I'll still run through it today. Okay, yeah, so I think this is a good card. Like, we can get some like better ace-x of diamonds and hearts to fold. We have clubs, which is great because he doesn't float clubs. So, you know, we don't want to block hearts and diamonds in this spot, but having clubs, we unblock diamonds and hearts that will fold. So anytime you can unblock your opponent's folding range is great. We can also get like his floats from the flop, like ace-9, ace-10, ace-jack, ace-queen, if he has ace-queen, I'm not sure, to fold. So there's, you know, loads of those hands, and quite a lot of them will be offsuit. So, you know, there's quite a few combos that we can get to fold, which is fantastic. So yeah, I quite like this as a bet. But again, you know, solvers sometimes throws out some curveballs, and this ends up being not a good bluff. But I think logically it makes sense to try and get those hands to fold. Be interesting to see how often a 6 is supposed to fold. Also, I don't think I bet big enough here. I think, again, like the geometric sizing here is going to be like 7, maybe a bit bigger. Here we only went 6.6, so maybe it's a bit bigger than 7, because now on the river we've got like pot behind, and yet we went like 75%, 80% on the turn. So a bit of like lack of consistency, I guess in that spot. But yeah, so he calls. Obviously, like the 7, I expect him to lead a decent amount out of position. So now, you know, I think he can have like a king. He can have some draws still. He could still have a 6. Still have some 7x. He can have like ace-x of spades and some combo draws. You know, 9-8, 10-8 of spades. Maybe 9-8 even continues without spades. Be good to see. Well, 9-8 now gets there. But yeah, I suppose like 10-8 of spades, 10-9 of spades, those kind of hands would now improve to some showdown value. But I'm not sure how often they would call if we jam here. But I ended up checking back, and I'm not 100% sure I like it. I felt like he's just going to have a king a lot and just hero us off. But I think it's worth looking in the solver to see what he did. Oh, sorry, what we should have done, I guess. Okay, so yeah, again, mixing between big and small, a little bit of checking, but not a huge amount, I would say. Like queens, kings, some ace queens, queen jack suited, 8-6 suited, but looks to be like a lot of betting to me. Going for this small size most of the time, but well, the majority, but actually using some big bets too. You can see a hand like king queen just favoring that big bet. Aces, you know, unblocking a king looks to be pretty good. Going for the big bet as well. So we went to small bet, and our opponent called. Let's have a look. The turn was a 7 of spades. We expect our opponent to do a decent amount of leading, as is the case in this spot. Let's just have a quick look here. So you see a huge amount of good equity for the out of position player on these low cards. I mean, they complete straights and they also complete trips. But you can see again, like an ace is really good for us, so I doubt they're going to do much leading on that card. Yeah, it looks like 7 and 6 are the only two standout leads for the out of position player here. He checks, and yeah, this is pretty interesting because looks like ace deuce of clubs is kind of doing the opposite of what I thought it would do, right? So betting, I thought it would bet way more frequently with clubs here than it would hearts and diamonds, because we want to try and get diamonds and hearts to fold right at this point. So if we did go ahead and bet 6-6-1, we can suddenly get, like as you can see here, ace jack of hearts, ace 10 of hearts, ace 9 of diamonds, like all of these better ace x hands to fold. So that kind of surprises me that that's happening. I'm going to guess that the offsuit ace x hands are the ones with spades in them that go for the bluffs. Yeah, so you can see that bottom left, ace 9, ace 8, favoring spade, blocking spade continues. Looks good to me. I guess with ace 9 and ace 8, you block those straight draws as well. But yeah, I think that is really interesting because it's just kind of thrown me through a loop here. It's that hearts bets way more than. Yeah, I just don't think this makes too much sense. Like spades, I can understand because you have good blockers, but you also have reasonable equity. But clubs, I would have thought clubs would go for it way more than hearts and diamonds. So yeah, I think that's I can't actually work out why that's happening. Maybe guys, if you've got any thoughts in the chat, just let me know. But I went for the bet, and then the river was the 10 of hearts. He doesn't do much leading here, if any, like trace amounts really. And then ace deuce of clubs on this river is doing a bit of bluffing, but not a huge amount. The EV difference will be pretty similar. Yeah, looks like checking is slightly better, but the EV is very, very similar. And that will often be the case when a mixed strategy is used. Whereas like ace deuce of spades, for example, is just pure check. Whereas if you bet here, you'll end up losing money. What sort of hands can we get to fold in this spot? So if we were bluffing, we can get these ace jack, ace 10, ace 9 still to fold, ace 8, other ace x down here, and we actually start getting some king x hands to fold as well. So I think it's really interesting in a chippy V environment to think, okay, we can start getting some king x, like king 9 off, king 8 off. They're really really low EV calls, I would say. And yeah, I think it's great to see that, because then in an ICM world where you cover the other player, and if he calls and loses, then he busts and he has no chance of cashing. I think it just tips us to want to go a little bit more aggressive in this spot. So I think he would fold these a lot more frequently. But yeah, I'm not sure if you guys agree. You think triple barrel, 10 away from the money. Do you think someone folds like king 9, king 8? Do you think they fold with shout out to 194 for the follow? Do you think that or do you think like king 9 and king 8 they call in a chippy V environment and in an ICM environment? Just give me your thoughts on that. It'd be good to know. Okay. So I think that's it. I think I'm still kind of perplexed by the fact that clubs bets less, I guess, in this spot. But yeah, fair enough. Okay, so so we sometimes can bet turn with our hand, but mainly goes for a check. And then if we did bet, then we are again mixing bluffing on the river. We never really want to fire spades. A lot of his, I guess he ends up calling some spades. I'm trying to have a look here. I mean, certainly no ace x spades. I mean, we would have all of that. Yeah, it's not 100% obvious, I would say. as to why it's doing that, and I'm still trying to, in my head, just still trying to work out why the ace deuce of clubs doesn't bet more frequently on the turn. Let's have a quick look. So some 6x starts folding here, which is good to know. So you can get some 6x to fold. Obviously, and 7 never folds, and a king never folds here. But getting a 6x to fold and getting these better ace-x hands to fold, I think, is good. And then denying equity to some of these hands as well. But also, like, denying them the opportunity to bluff, I think, is pretty reasonable too. Okay, let's go to the next one. So here we have ace-8 of spades, and we see an open from a 16 big blind stack. We defend in the big blind. Flop is queen 8-3, check. He bets just over quarter pot. We call. I guess we could jam here as well, just to, again, for value. Like, we still get called by like king 8, 10 8, 9 8 if he has it. Yeah, maybe some other hands that just think that we have like 10-9, jack-9, jack-10, something like that. So yeah, I think we could do that. Again, let's have a look at the solver. 9 of clubs, check, check. And on the river, I went for a block because I think that he now is forced to call with some ace highs like ace jack, ace king, ace 10. Maybe, I mean, yeah, he should call with ace 6. He can still have king 8 and 10 8. Those two hands, I think, are good targets for us. I mean, those hands never fold to a block. So I think this is reasonable, but again, we need to see what the solver says. Okay, so actually, I actually ran this pre-flop spot in simple pre-flop as well. So I think that would be worth having a look at. Hopefully, it fits on the screen. So you can see that I gave the opener this range 17.13%, and then this is the strategy that it spits out. So we're jamming 5s plus, king queen, ace 10 off plus ace jack suited, and doing a bit of mixing with ace 10 suited, jamming 3s and 2s, flatting 4s, and then doing a lot of flatting with other hands. So ace 8 suited is what we had. We would just pure call. Interesting to see some 7 deuce suited start folding. This looks pretty loose to call these hands, but we just do a pretty good job of realizing equity. So when we're this shallow, we can just, donk jam and stuff. So I think it's reasonable, and that's how I came up with this range. I did give it an option to lead on the flop, but you can see it's not really happening. So in position, it's supposed to do a decent amount of checking here, probably because we're so short, and we do, as you can see, you just do a huge amount of jamming versus this small sizing. There's no big betting going on at this stack depth. I would say that his bet size is probably too big. Like a min bet would be absolutely fine in this spot. So just a quick recap. He raised from early-ish position. We defended the big blind with not very many chips, and flop comes queen 8-3. He bets this sizing, and you can see ace 8 of spades does a bit of raising and a bit of jamming. Ace 8 of clubs looks like it prefers going for the jam, but you can see, I mean, this is it's pretty wild. I mean, I don't see anybody doing this, jamming these hands. Like queen X for sure, like raise or jam, like that's why it's doing that. So I think that's really good to see that top pair you just raise, get it in, or just jam yourself. 2 pair just going for the slow play, like there's so few chips back, you're just never going to fold, so it doesn't really matter. You just have a really strong hand, and also if you call with these hands, you just get to protect the bets of your range as well. So yeah, I think this is really wild. I wonder why we get to jam king jack, king 10, king 9. Maybe because we block kings, jacks, and 10s. Maybe because we block some ace queen and queen jack, queen 10s. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting to see. King queen just going for a check call as well, so it just has a lot of equity. I would say, yeah, 75%. Obviously not as great as 2 pair, but still pretty high. Okay, that's yeah, I think that's fascinating to see. We don't often play or study like however many big blinds this is. How many? Yeah, like 9 bigs back, but yeah. I think it's good to see. The SPR is like less than 2. Mumbai Goa, probably butchered that name. Apologize. On Twitch says maybe we block continuing range of the opponent with King Jack. Yeah, I think that's the case. Block, as I said, kings, jacks, Queen Jack, King Queen. Yeah, I think that's I think that makes sense. The EV won't be too I guess it wants to have the backdoor flush draw as well, and hearts just goes ahead and folds. I mean, again, like maybe you just block too many hearts from folding. But it looks like everything just folds here. Like it's weird to see like it blocking all of these hands that just fold as well. You get some better hands to fold here, ace jack, ace 10, ace 9, so that's good. And you also block some like ace jack with a backdoor flush draw, I guess, and some ace king. So yeah, I think that's a good observation. Okay, what was the turn? Turn was the 9 of clubs. Okay. Turn was the 9 of clubs. We don't do any leading here. Let's just check to see if we do some leading on like an 8 and a 3. You can see the 8 and the 3 are the standout cards. The ace is really bad for us. So an 8 and a 3, we do a decent amount of leading, but we also do some leading with a queen here as well. So oftentimes on these, when the turn pairs the board, it'll just be really the middle of the bottom card that gets led most frequently. But I think it's interesting because of the SPR that we actually start leading some some queens on the turn as well. Yeah, I think that's great. Okay, so it goes check, check. And then the river was the 6 of diamonds. And let's have a look. Okay, so it seems reasonable to go for a block here with ace 8. And king 8's, happy with that as well. So yeah, I think going for some bets here with an 8 seems reasonable. I think on the stream, I can't remember exactly. I can't remember exactly why I marked it. Maybe someone said in the chat like this seems too thin to bet. Like why don't we just go for a check and see what happens? I think it was probably just a product of being a bit results orientated because he ends up having ace 9. But yeah, I think this is good. So let's see what we're actually getting value from. So again, king 8, 10, 8 is what we said. He has to start calling with some ace jacks. I guess like blocking jack 10 seems the most obvious. The reason why he's calling ace jack rather than ace king. And yeah, I think this looks good. Yeah. So we're still getting value from some hands. Ace 6 has to call as well. I think I mentioned that in the first analysis. So I think that's I think we've done well to do all of that, to run through all of that. So it looks like the bet was fine. And yeah, as I said, he ends up having ace 9, which is fair enough. It is what it is. Okay, so next one then. This guy min raises off 30 bigs. We defend king 5 off, flop a flush draw. He bets. So I guess. Let's have a look. Someone just asked, was ace 9 a bad call? I don't think so. No, I think it's a mandatory call. Although, as you can see here, it actually prefers raising. But I think in practice, like I don't bet call enough hands in order for ace 9 to go for value here. So I think call is good. But yeah, no, ace 9's never going to be a bad call there. It looks good to me. Like if we're trying to get value from ace 6 and ace jack, and king 8, then him having ace 9, it can't be a bad call, right? Okay, yeah, so on this board then, we defend a big blind. He c-bets just over quarter pot again, I guess. And the first thing we want to see is, like, is this a spot where we can raise with the king of clubs, or do we prefer to have, like, the ace of clubs? I think that's the first question. Do we see some raising with, like, the worst bottom pair that we could have, which would be, like, 4-deuce of diamonds, for example? 4-3 of diamonds, do they work into a check raise bluffing range here? And then so then do we bluff the ace of clubs or anything else? Like what about queen x with a club? Does that get raised? So I think using this hand to really see what we're supposed to do on the flop with different parts of our range is going to be really useful. I went for a check call, and then the 7 of diamonds. Like it's interesting because we've talked about paired turn cards quite often. This is something that I've been looking at with my Game Changer students. So this month we're focusing on turn strategy out of position, which is where we're at now in this hand. And this week we looked at which turn cards would be good to lead. So this is definitely one of those cards, right? It's paired the board, puts him in a pretty tough spot without a club or without any piece of the board. Like, I think if we lead here, a hand as strong as Ace King is going to have to fold. So I think this is a pretty amazing spot for us. Then we have the King of Clubs as well, which helps us in two ways. That we block like Ace King of Clubs, King Jack of Clubs, King 10, King 9, King 8 of Clubs. And also we can improve to a flush on the river. So it's not like, completely unnatural bluff. So I think this is a reasonable spot. So yeah, this looks like geometric sizing. So again, like might be a spot where we do choose a small size as well, like small bet and big bet here. But yeah, this would leave us with 22 in the pot, and he'd have 18 behind. So it looks to me to be pretty similar. Geometrically. He ends up folding, and so I think it's a pretty useful hand to analyze. So let's do that. Okay, so range betting for imposition, and what I think is interesting here is, I don't know if it's something that came out in some training videos or training material or what, but I think that a lot of players will just sort of range bet on monotone boards for a small size. And you can see here that it's actually, there is some big betting going on. So like aces with a club, like wants to really push it, has a strong top pair, gets value from a lot of hands, but also, is very happy to get it in. And not only do you get value from lots of hands, but when you actually get there, your opponent's going to have like a second best hand a lot. So you just want to shovel money in. Kings with a club is exactly the same. So then we see some small bets with top set. Seven's going for a mix. Four's going for the bigger bet again. Unblocking Queen 7 and a club. So you get lots of value there. And so I think this is just interesting to don't just always go for a small bet on a monotone board. Let's have a quick look at equities. In position 58 and a position 42. Let's have a look at 2 pair plus. So in position 10.8 and a position 8.5. So in position has the equity and 2 pair plus advantage. So you're often going to see a lot of betting because of that. So they go for this 150 bet, and we wanted to know like which hands do we find to bluff with? Like, are we bluffing with the ace of clubs? Are we bluffing with like 4x, like 4-3 of diamonds, 4-2 of diamonds, something like that? So let's just run through it and have a look. So we'll start with the bluffs then. So 4 out straight draws, looks like it's absolutely loving this. I guess you have a little bit of equity. You can see here 22, 23%, but you also unblock a lot of folds. So I think that's you don't block the big cards that you're trying to get to fold in this spot. 8 out straight draws looks like mixing, and then the flush draw. Let's have a look here. So ace queen off with the ace of clubs, just has so much equity. Wants to really push that. Looks good to me, but I think it's pretty interesting to see that ace jack, ace 10, ace 9 just goes for the check call, and then we start to see some raising with like ace 8, ace 6, ace 5, ace 3. Let's have a look at their equities. Yeah, so ace jack, ace 10, ace 9 just have a reasonable amount of equity. And then once we get down to like ace 6, ace 5, ace 3, ace deuce here, like the equity is not as good. So it's again like just having that ace of clubs blocker like just seems really, really nice to have in this spot. But yeah, in terms of king X, let's have a quick look. Does it do the same kind of thing? So we actually had this hand, king 5 off with the king of clubs, and does look like it does, goes for a raise here sometimes. So yeah, I think maybe I'm a little bit too passive in this spot. I think I would just check call with these. I think I would find these raises with the weaker ace X, but maybe not the king X. So I think that's good to see. And then also like jack 8, 10, 8, 9, 8, just having those blockers to made flushes, but also hands that can continue versus a check raise, I think is good. And then combo draw is actually just mainly going for a check call. Equity wise seems pretty good. Just go for a call, and then there's a little bit of raising with 8-6 off with the 8 of clubs. I asked about like 4x, whether or not that would start raising, and you can see that it does. So yeah, I think this is pretty consistent on monotone boards, where you'll see like the worst 4x going for a raise. So yeah, I think that's just good to look out for. Like, obviously don't do it all the time, but yeah, out of all of the 4x hands, it's the ones right at the bottom that go for it. Dom Dom on YouTube saying hello all, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. If you guys do have any questions, obviously just fire them into the chat, and we'll just continue analyzing this hand. So yeah, we want to find some. Basically, our bluffs are going to come from ace x and king. Well, ace x and king x with little equity, where they just have like king 5 off or ace 5 off, for example. Shout out to jmob1415 for the follow on Twitch. Yeah, then we find some bluffs with 4x as well. Interesting that like 6-4 and 5-4 off with a club just goes for a call, and the others mix. So just be aware of that. And then I imagine that everything else just does a lot of calling, apart from ace queen with a club. Yeah, 2-pair mixing. Sets, yeah, 4s raising, 7s just calling, and then flushes. Yeah, this is interesting to see. I guess just trying to think why we're calling with these hands. Obviously, we block a lot of the hands that can continue. When you have an ace of clubs and a jack of clubs, like, you block ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, all with a club, but also king jack with a club. I don't think he's going to raise any other jack x hands from this position. So yeah, I think that's probably the reason why we just check call with these hands, but go for a raise with the weaker ones. Well, I say weaker, but I mean it's the same hand strength. Really, just doesn't block some of their continues. Okay, cool. So we did call. Let's have a look at the turn. Turn was a 7 of diamonds. So as I said, like I do expect this to be a lot of leading. So yeah, that's looks good to me. And but yeah, it's more for this small side. I went for like 7 bigs here. Looks like 6.77. I don't think this has been set up geometrically, so it's just like 80% pot on the turn. But I think that the small bet is the one that's used most frequently, and yeah, I went for the big bet. But if you have a look bottom right, you can see there is some big betting going on with king 5 off with the king of clubs, so it doesn't seem that ludicrous to do that. Let's have a look at the turn. So you can see clubs obviously going to be good for the out of position player. A lot of their range is flush draws. But it looks like a 7 looks good as well. In terms of strategy, the 7 is the one that stands out most frequently. So I'm glad to have found that lead in this hand. But I think, yeah, mixing between small and big bet and actually doing some checking as well seems reasonable. When we do bet this size, what are we trying to get to fold? That's better than king 5 off, where you've got all of these king x hands here that are better. You've got shout out to Goitubi1. I probably butchered that. I apologize. But you've also got ace x as well. So like I think I said, ace king without a club can't continue here versus a turn lead. So you can see that without the flush or the flush draw, just has to go ahead and fold. So that's quite a lot of hands to be able to get to fold. And we block ace king of clubs here. So he basically has no ace king suited. And he only has 3 combos of ace king off with the ace clubs. So it's a nice bluff, I think, in this spot. And then we block all of these king x of clubs hands. So basically he never has suited kings to call. So that's great. And yeah, and then we get some of these hands to fold too. And then just deny equity against some of these as well. So yeah, I think it's good. I think the logic makes sense. It's a card that you want to do a lot of leading on. And then just choosing like blocker type hands to do it looks good to me. But yeah, just always thinking about what are we actually trying to target? Like what hands are we trying to get to fold? I think that's going to be really, really useful in this spot. Okay, so yeah, he did fold. So looks pretty good to me. All right, so that's actually all the hands that I ran. I guess what we should do. and Zelko in YouTube chat saying hello. How's it going? So what I'm going to do really quickly is just fire up a random tournament because we've still got about 15 minutes of our 60 minutes of 6. And I'm just going to do like a pre-flop test, I guess, like just to make sure that I'm not making any pre-flop mistakes, and just have a look at that. So let's see. 1 second, I'll just pull that up. And okay, this looks like the bigger 27. So we're just going to be focusing on pre-flop and see if there's any questions or leaks or anything that we can find in there. So you guys can sort of sweat along with me, see if I made any mistakes. Zelko saying greetings from Croatia. Excellent stuff. I do want to go to Croatia once we can fly out the country again. Okay, so we're going to go pretty quickly through these. I don't think... yeah, so all I'm really doing here is just running through pre-flop stuff. I'm going to get my ranges up on Equilab so you guys can see how we compare, like when we're studying, like pull up the ranges, compare, stuff like that. So I think it's should be pretty good. So yeah, I'm not really bothered about like post-flop. I just want to do pre-flop. So I don't really need to focus on ace-jack suited there. That's definitely an open. Interesting hand here. If it had gone raise, call, I think we start folding this hand. Like these two ranges should be fairly strong. So I would start folding. Okay. This is somewhat interesting. So 30 big blinds, like we're definitely going to be playing this hand, but he's obviously open to a slightly bigger size. So yeah, I think it's obviously going to be fine. We'll keep on working through. A6 suited looks good to me. So just to kind of give you an idea, something that you can, I've encouraged my Game Changer students to do is let's have a look here. So really, like we can look at different ranges. So we're here in the cutoff. So all of these ranges are available in the Game Changer group. Certainly raise first in. So if you join Game Changer, you get access to all these raise first in ranges. So hopefully you guys can see that. Let's just make sure. So raise first in, obviously you can see a6 suited, like definitely in there. Like I don't need to check this, but I'm just sort of highlighting it for you guys to see. And we have like defending ranges for defending the big blind and other like defending the small blind, facing 3-bet jams, big blind overcall ranges as well, and lots of other stuff. So yeah, that's what we're essentially doing, just trying to make sure that we don't have any pre-flop leaks. Okay, looks fine. Okay, I think it's fine. Okay, so this is a pretty interesting one. I think that it's worth looking to see if are we supposed to just always jam here, or is it a 3-bet call? So I've actually got small blind defending the small blind. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's in early position. We do 30 bigs. Small blind versus EP, and color coded for you guys. So yellow is going to be call, blue is jam, and red is 3-bet. So I think this is pretty interesting to see that jacks plus ace queen suited is a 3-bet. Ace king off looks like it jams a lot. Ace queen off jams sometimes, flat sometimes, and 3-bet sometimes. I think we probably 3-bet fold against most players. I'm not 100% sure on GTO, but yeah, I think that's interesting to see. We got some bluffs in there, like we're not 3-bet calling king queen, we're not 3-bet calling ace 10, ace jack, but we are going to 3-bet jacks plus ace queen suited. I would say that, like, if I just pull this out of the way, ace queen suited in this spot, you 3-bet, and then against all but the best players, ace queen suited is probably going to start losing money as a call. Now, I'm not saying that you should always fold it, but just know your opponents, because like your opponent's supposed to 4-bet jam some hands that you're doing well against. But if they're, let's say that their 4-bet jamming range was like queens plus ace king, you're obviously in a horrible spot with ace queen suited. Same with jacks, to be fair, but jacks maybe less so because you can be up against ace king. But yeah, looks like jam is fine. We should be jamming here, 100%. So that's what I did. Queen 5 off, so 20 big blinds. Let's just do a quick check. This is the 20 big blind opening ranges. So Queen 5 off, definitely not an open. Queen 9 off is bottom of the range there. You can see the range is only like 40% of hands, I think. Yeah, 39.7. So you definitely don't want to be opening here. 8-7 off, not going to be full, an open even. King 10 looks good. So like raise first in ranges, obviously really, really important. And as I was saying before, like you can get access to those through Game Changer. So whatever level you come in at, there are 3 tiers within Game Changer. The bottom tier gets you access to all the weekly webinars that we do, and then to the first module in the course, which is raise first in. So something I always really encourage you to do is to make sure that you're opening the right ranges, getting to the flop with the right ranges. So we don't want to be, playing too tight in a lot of these spots. So I think that's one of the biggest leaks I see with players that come for lessons is, and players that start within Game Changer, is they are not raising enough from late position. So for example, let's just have a look at 40 big blinds. So 40 big blinds from the cutoff is at least this range, and you can probably go wider. And the same for the button, you can probably go wider than this as well. So if you're not opening 40 big blinds, you're not opening like 35% from the cutoff, 49.6% from the button as a minimum, then you're probably opening too tight, and you can that's one leak that you can fix straight away. Okay, so we face an open here at 30 big blinds, so we can go, okay, is Jack 5 off definitely a call? Like, do we call Jack deuce off? That's the kind of things that you could quickly test yourself on. So 30 big blinds versus the cutoff. Let's have a look. So we're jamming like 2s through 9s and 10s and jacks sometimes as well, but 3-betting those as well. Jamming ace king, ace queen, ace jack again. Looks good. And then, yeah, we're just always defending Jack 5 off, and Jack 3 off looks pretty marginal. So same as 7-4 off. So you maybe start folding those hands, I think. Looks to me like a slightly bigger ante, so more than a big blind in there. So you maybe get to defend the Jack 3 off. I think that would be reasonable. So yeah, we did defend there. Like, it's just, again, just good to check. And yeah, let's have a quick look at defending the small blinds. So we are 40 big blinds deep, essentially. I mean, this guy's got 25 big blinds, so we could have a look at other stack sizes as well. But let's do 40 big blinds versus the button. So Jack 8 suited is a call, but Jack 7 suited is going to be a fold. Queen 7, Queen 6, mixing between call and fold, but the EV on a call is probably not going to be great. But if you think that this big blind is not going to be jamming super wide, then you can certainly play like these hands at higher frequency calls. If this guy's going to squeeze jam a lot, and which 25 bigs seems like a good thing to do, then I would just fold these. So yeah, I think these, like as I said, these ranges are available in different parts of the course. The middle tier is MTT Game Changer Plus, and you get access to all the training content. So you get access to all the ranges, pre-flop and post-flop. So post-flop, there's a lot of Google Sheets with strategies and ideas there to help you, develop a really solid post-flop strategy. So flop in position and flop out of position. So definitely, if that's something you're interested in, it's Game Changer Plus for that. But you can also just buy those modules separately, and you get access to these courses. So I'll just do a really quick. I'll post the links really quickly. So that's to join Game Changer if you're interested in weekly webinars and access to the course through that. And then if you just want the course on its own, if you don't want the weekly webinars and the Discord group and access to me throughout the week, then just go to the classroom instead, and you can download the course. So yeah, I just posted those in the chat. If you guys want to have a look on depending on where you're looking, it's in the chat on both Twitch and YouTube. Okay, cool. Okay, fine. So you can see that like you're not really looking at post flop. Like the key thing here, and it's something I talk about in my book. I'm not going to plug it today. I've already plugged too much. But yeah, talk about sort of specific and focused study, right? So here we're just really focusing, trying to hammer home like raise first in and big blind defense and small blind defense, right? There's three things. Like you could probably say like that's too many, right? But we're just focusing on pre-flop fundamentals where that happen time and time again. So knowing what hands to defend the big blind. And by defend, I mean like 3-betting, jamming, calling, folding, knowing all of those different things. And then, yeah, raise first in, like we need to get those ranges right. Ooh, this is interesting. So yeah, here we face 3-bet, and this looks very, very strong from this player. 25 big blinds, 3-bet. I think against a good player, this is a poor fold from me. But I don't recognize this player, so if their 3-bet was very low, I think folding here is absolutely fine. Okay, nice, looks good. Defending king 3, folding king 7, looks good to me. It's okay, so we fold 10-8 here. So just to really like quickly look at it, we have 60 big blinds, right? So we could go to the 60 big blind ranges and see what they are. But the thing is, we're playing 30 bigs effective against a button, 20 bigs effective against a small blind, and 25 bigs effective against a big blind. So I think looking at the difference between 20 and 30 bigs is probably the way to go from the cutoff here. And we're going to see that this is never going to be an open. But you can see like cutoff at 30 big blinds, 34.1%. Don't open 10-9 off. I mean, it'll be a marginal open, I think. And the same thing with 20 as well. So we just don't get to go too crazy. I was saying earlier on about opening like 35% from the cutoff, maybe even more. Once the shallower we get, so this is 20 big blinds, the shallower we get, we just don't get to open as wide. X-Heapy saying playing his first tourney now. Good luck. Hope it goes well for you. But yeah, recognizing effective stack size is really important. Like one of the mistakes I see is players opening like a 60 big blind range here, without factoring in that both of these players could jam. And I think there's some jamming at 30 bigs as well, honestly. Let's just, we've got facing an open, 30 big blinds. Let's do button versus cutoff. Yeah, so this is also available in the course, and you can see that, there is some jamming going on here, actually, button versus cutoff. So all three players could potentially jam on you here, so it's important not to go too wide here. XEP says 32 out of 200 and I get money, but it's an experience, eh? Cool. Yeah. Good luck. Okay, so I think let's just find one more hand just so we can check it. So I think earlier on you saw me defend King 5 off versus a 30 big blind open, but it was a min raise. Here, if this guy 3-bets, but against this, I would fold here. So I think being sensitive to raise size is really, really important. I think let's just defending the big blind. So like 20 bigs versus an EP open. You can see that all King X start calling, okay? But I think versus the 3X, you just want to get rid of some of these hands at the bottom. You just won't be able to profitably defend. And also, like, this is if the guy's opening 17% of hands. Given that he's 3X of this stack size, I think that he's most likely to be opening a tighter range than that. So two things at play here. Tighter range and bigger raise size means you just get worse odds and worse equity with a lot of the hands that it wants, like the solver would want you to call. So I think that's a good place for us to finish, guys. I am going to stay, once I've closed the stream, I am going to stay on the chat for a few minutes. So if you guys have any questions about Game Changer or anything else, then, just let me know. Any questions from the stream as well, happy to answer those. I'll be back on Sunday for a live play and explain. Been doing those for 5 or 6 weeks now since WCoop. I did them in August as well, but then stopped for WCoop. And so join me for that if you want me to, if you want to see me play some tournaments and explain what I'm doing. But yeah, on that note, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.